Where He Sleeps. Chapter 1. The Arrival. The scent was wrong. It clung to the air like mildew in a damp crawlspace, sharp, sour, threaded with something metallic. I caught it before the others did, before the door even opened. It drifted in through the cracks, curled beneath the floorboards, and settled in the corners of the den where the light never reached. They welcomed it. The tall one, with the booming voice, shook its hand. The small one clapped and laughed. Even. The quiet one, the one who always moved like she was holding her breath, smiled and said words that sounded like trust. But I knew better. It didn't belong here. It moved too smoothly, like water over glass. Its eyes didn't blink enough, and when it laughed, the sound was hollow, like bones rattling in a tin can. I watched from my place beneath the stairs, where the shadows were thick and the air was still. I wasn't supposed to be there. They'd told me to stay in the back room behind the gate, but the latch was loose and I had learned how to push it just so. The new one walked through the house like it owned it, touched things, sat in the big chair, ate from the bowl that wasn't his. The others didn't mind. They offered him food, drink, stories. They didn't see the way he flinched when the wind blew through the cracked window, or how he stared too long at the basement door. That night, the quiet one tucked the small one into bed and turned off the lights. The den grew still. The new one stayed awake. I heard him. He whispered to himself in a language I didn't know. His footsteps were soft, but not soft enough. He walked past the quiet one's room, paused, then kept going. Down the hallway, toward the basement. I followed. I didn't make a sound. My pads were silent against the wood. I kept low, ears forward, breath slow. He stood at the basement door for a long time. Just stood. Then he reached out and touched the knob. He didn't open it. He just pressed his hand against it, like he was listening. Then he turned and looked down the hallway, right at me. I didn't move. His eyes were pale. Not white, not blue, just pale. Like something had drained the color out of them. He smiled, but it wasn't a smile. It was a stretch of skin over teeth. Then he whispered something. Not to me. Not to anyone. To the door. I backed away, slow and careful, until the shadows swallowed me again. Later, when the others slept, I stayed awake. I listened. I waited. The scent was stronger now. It had seeped into the walls, into the floor, into the bones of the house. Something had arrived, and it wasn't leaving. Chapter 2. The Warning. The scent grew stronger. It seeped into the carpet, clung to the curtains, settled in the folds of the quiet one's blanket. I tasted it in the air, bitter like rust and rot. The others didn't notice. They laughed, cooked, watched the glowing box. But I knew something was wrong. I tried to tell them. I screamed when the new one entered the room. Low, sharp, from deep in my chest. The tall one snapped at me, voice loud and clipped. Enough, he said. Go away. I didn't move. I stared at the new one, ears forward and stiff. He smiled at me. That same stretched skin smile. Then he winked. I growled. The quiet one pulled me away, her fingers trembling against my neck. He's just nervous, she whispered to the tall one. It's a new face. But I'd seen new faces before. They smelled like coffee and soap and tired feet. This one smelled like grave dirt. That night I patrolled. I walked the perimeter of the den, nose low, ears high. The wind howled. Outside, rattling the windows. The small one cried in his sleep. I pushed open his door and lay beside him, pressing my body against his. He calmed. His breathing slowed. I stayed until the moon shifted. Then I heard it, a creak, a whisper, a soft thud from the basement door. I rose and ran down the hallway. The new one stood in the dark, facing the door. His hand hovered over the knob, fingers twitching. He didn't see me. He was speaking again. Low, guttural sounds that made my hackles rise. The door pulsed. Just once, like something behind it had breathed. I yelled. He turned, startled. His eyes glowed faintly in the dark. "You shouldn't be here," he said. Not to me, to the door. The next morning, the Quiet One found scratches on the basement frame. Deep ones, not mine. Too long, too sharp. She showed the tall one. He shrugged. "Probably from a dog," he said. The new one began leaving food out. Bits of meat, soaked in something sour. I sniffed it once and backed away. The small one reached for it. I yelled, loud and sudden. He cried. The Quiet One scolded me, voice tight with frustration. "You're acting strange," she said. "What's gotten into you?" I wanted to answer. I wanted to tell her everything. But all I could do was pace, growl, and watch. The shadows grew longer. The lights flickered more often. The air felt heavy, like before a storm. The small one stopped laughing. He stared at the basement door now, even when the glowing box played his favorite sounds. He said he heard scratching. The Quiet One said it was the pipes. It wasn't the pipes. One night, the new one sat in the big chair, staring at nothing. His lips moved, but no sound came out. I crept closer, slow and silent. His skin was pale, almost translucent. I could see the veins beneath. His fingers twitched. His eyes didn't blink. Then he turned to me and said, "It's almost time." I barked, loud, furious. The tall one stormed in, grabbed my neck again, dragged me to the back room. "Enough!" he shouted. "You're losing it!" He locked the door. I scratched at it until I bled. I screamed. I whimpered. I waited. That night, the basement door opened. I heard it. The creak, the groan, the soft, wet sound of something dragging across the floor. Then silence. Then the small one screamed. Chapter 3. Salt and Shadows. The small one was gone. I knew before the sun rose. His scent, bright, warm, tangled with laughter, was missing. The blanket lay untouched. The pillow still held the shape of his head, but the room was wrong, hollow, like something had been scooped out of it. The Quiet One called his name. Her voice cracked. The tall one stormed through the house, opening doors, shouting into empty rooms. They searched the yard, the street, the woods behind the fence. They asked neighbors, they made calls. But I knew. He hadn't wandered. He hadn't run away. He'd been taken. His scent hadn't faded. It had been swallowed, pulled down into the place they never looked. The place they told me to stay away from. The basement. I scratched at the door until my arms ached. I yelled, sharp and frantic. The Quiet One pulled me back, tears streaking her face. "Not now," she whispered. "Please." I whimpered. They didn't understand. They couldn't smell the fear soaked into the floorboards. Couldn't hear the whispers that slithered through the vents at night. Couldn't feel the way the house had changed. The new one didn't search. He sat in the big chair, sipping from a mug, watching the Quiet One cry. When she asked if he'd seen the child, he smiled. "He's closer than you think," he said. I growled. The tall one locked me in the back room. "You're not helping," he snapped. "You're scaring her." I howled. That night, I escaped. The latch was weak. I pushed it just so. Slipped into the hallway, nose low, ears high. The house was silent. The Quiet One slept in the child's bed, clutching his blanket. The tall one sat in the dark, bottle in hand, staring at nothing. The new one was gone. I followed the scent. It led to the basement. The door was ajar. I pushed it open. The stairs groaned beneath me. The air was thick, wet, sour, humming with something old. I descended slowly, each step a warning. The scent grew stronger. Fear. Blood. Salt. At the bottom, I found it. A trail. Bits of cloth, a small shoe, scratches on the wall. Long, deep, desperate. And the scent. His scent. Twisted with terror. I yelled. The sound echoed, swallowed by the dark. I moved forward, heart pounding. The basement was larger than I remembered, or maybe it had changed. The walls pulsed. The floor felt soft. The shadows moved. Then I saw it. A door, not the one at the top of the stairs. A second door, hidden behind shelves and boxes. It was old, wood splintered, hinges rusted, frame warped. But it was open. Inside, the scent was overwhelming. I stepped. Through. The room was small, damp. The walls were stone. In the center, a circle of salt, broken, scattered, and in the corner, something moved. I crept closer. It was the child's blanket. Torn. Stained. Beneath it, a tuft of hair. His hair. I nudged it. It was cold. I whimpered. Then I heard it. A whisper. Low. Wet. Like breath through water. I turned. The new one stood in the doorway. His eyes glowed. His skin rippled. His smile stretched too wide. "You shouldn't be here," he said. I growled. He stepped forward. The shadows followed him. The walls pulsed. The air thickened. "You're too late," he whispered. I lunged. Teeth met flesh. Flesh gave way. He screamed. The shadows screamed with him. The room shook. The salt flared. Light burst. Then silence. He was gone. The room was empty. I stood alone, panting, bleeding, trembling. The blanket lay still. The scent faded. I had found him, but I hadn't saved him. Chapter 4. The confrontation. They locked me in the garage. The air was cold, metallic, thick with oil and dust. I paced between the boxes and tools, ears twitching at every creak of the house. The scent was stronger now. Rancid, ancient, pulsing. Through the walls like blood through veins. I scratched at the door until my nails split. I howled until my throat burned. No one came. The quiet one cried in the small one's room, clutching his blanket like it could bring him back. The tall one drank from a bottle that made his voice slur and his eyes dull. And the new one. He moved freely now. No longer pretending. No longer hiding. He walked the halls like a king in a crumbling castle. I watched him through the crack in the garage door. His skin shimmered in the light. Slick, stretched, wrong. His eyes glowed faintly, like embers in ash. He whispered to the walls, to the floor, to the basement door. And the house listened. The lights flickered. The pipes groaned. The shadows grew teeth. Then I heard it, a voice, small, fragile, from beneath the floor. The child. I barked, loud, furious. The sound echoed through the garage, through the house, through the bones of the den. The new one turned, smiled, walked toward the basement. I broke the door. It splintered beneath my weight. I tore through the hallway, past the quiet one, past the tall one, down the stairs. The basement door was open. The scent was overwhelming. Fear, blood, salt, rot. I descended. The room pulsed. The walls breathed. The floor rippled like water. In the center, the child lay curled, eyes wide, lips trembling. The new one stood over him, arms raised, voice deep and inhuman. I lunged. Teeth met flesh. Flesh tore. He screamed, high, shrill, not human. The shadows screamed with him. The room shook. The salt circle flared. Light burst. He struck me. Pain exploded in my side. I hit the wall, bones cracking. But I rose. I charged again. Bit deep. Held on. The child crawled away, sobbing, reaching for the stairs. The new one shrieked. His form twisted, limbs elongating, skin splitting, eyes multiplying. The room darkened, the air thickened, but I held on. I would not let go. Not this time. The salt ignited. The shadows recoiled. The walls screamed. And then, silence. He was gone. The room was still. I limped to the child's side, nudged his hand. He looked at me, eyes wide, tears streaking his cheeks. He whispered my name. I thumped my tail once against the cold floor and waited for the dawn. Chapter 5. Tail end, the house was quiet again. The shadows had retreated. The walls no longer pulsed. The air was still, heavy with dust and memory. But the silence wasn't peace. It was aftermath, the kind that settles after something breaks. I lay in the hallway, where the light from the child's room spilled across the floor. My side throbbed. Each breath came shallow, sharp. The wound from the basement burned like fire beneath my ribs. They hadn't noticed. The quiet one sat beside the child, rocking gently, humming a tune I remembered from long ago. Her voice trembled. The tall one stood in the doorway, arms crossed, eyes hollow. No one spoke of the basement. No one spoke of the thing that wore a man's skin. No one spoke of me. I tried to stand. My legs buckled. I collapsed with a soft thud, the kind no one hears. I lay there, watching the child. He hadn't laughed since that night. He hadn't spoken. He just stared at the window, clutching the torn blanket to his chest. I wanted to go to him. I wanted to curl beside him, press my body against his, feel his heartbeat slow beneath my chin. But my limbs wouldn't move. My breath came slower now. The world blurred at the edges. I closed my eyes. I remembered the first time he touched me. Small fingers, sticky with jam, tangled in my fur. I remembered chasing him through the yard, barking at the wind, standing guard while he slept. I remembered the way he whispered secrets into my ear, believing I could keep them safe. I had tried. I had fought. I had protected. But now I was fading. Then, soft, footsteps, bare feet on wood, a whisper of movement. I opened my eyes. The child stood over me. He knelt, slowly, carefully, like he knew I was fragile. His fingers reached out, trembling, and found the spot behind my ear, the one I couldn't reach. He scratched gently, like he used to. "I missed you," he whispered. I thumped my tail once against the floor. He smiled, and in that moment, the world was right again. I curled beside him, my body pressed to his. His warmth seeped into my fur. His breath slowed. His heartbeat steadied. I watched the door. I always watch the door, because that's what good boys do.